I get a message, right? That's just a standard Hibernate validation working. All right. And again, I mean, your entity model, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're building a web-based, for example, JSF application, right? You would stay the same. You would have the same code on your entity. You know, to have the same functionality, I mean, this is all you have to do on the client. All right. And finally, last feature is the conversation support. Okay. Let me open another example. So let me run this. So it's a wizard. And again, as I mentioned, the whole idea of a conversation, I mean, it's important to have that feature, but it's not as important anymore when you're talking with, I mean, we're dealing with the JavaFX client. Again, because the JavaFX language allows you to keep the state, in a way, on the client. Okay? So what's going to happen when I click here, this shows the conversation state, you know, red obviously not running, and then green. And then this is a wizard. All right, and email. There's no validation here, so. All right, so I get to kind of a summary page, and then the conversation is done. All right, if you want to look at the backend, so this is the register manager, and this is how I start a conversation. All right, right here, these methods conversational. This actually annotation ensures that the method is called within a long-running conversation. All right, and then I simply end it. All right, so again, if you need this support, it's available. But again, it just really depends what you are building. All right, so that's it for the examples. Just quickly to go through the features, but you already saw them, so they're going to make a lot more sense now. So there's the validation component, right? You have entity validation, just to Hibernate. Service factory, again, creates a reference to a SIEM component. You're not able to call any methods. And of course, the key, I mean, you know, SIEM, what's the key, this whole thing is that all the SIEM injection, outjection is still taking place. All right, so this is not just calling a plain servlet that just returns a string, right? You're reusing everything SIEM provides, okay? SIEM Service Factory is the same thing, but has support for conversations if you need to. As for plan features, we're planning this idea of a dynamic finders and updaters. I'm going to show you in a second what it is. And also server-side push. So that's something we're looking to do. As for dynamic finders and updaters, so this functionality, as I said, there's also a flex side. So the dynamic finders and updaters is available on the flex side. Okay? And basically what it does is if you have an entity, you can call finders, which is, for example, find all, find by name, and so on, without actually having to write these methods. Okay, they will be automatically generated for you. Right? Now, this is not to say this will cover every single scenario in your application, but doing something that you see here is a very common in the enterprise application, especially in the CRUD-like application. So you can actually, you know, use this, and you don't have to write anything. Right? So we're looking into this direction for the JavaFX as well. And of course, I also mentioned server-side push. As for the plugin, you know, there is some basic features, but we're planning to do a more enhanced source editor, visual editor, of course, that's the goal. Integration with Flamingo, so you can create a project, for example, and have all the Flamingo libraries available, right? And if you guys would also like to hear what features you would like to see. So, but you go to our website, xxl.com, and you'll be able to find all the information. Just a few other things we're working on, have ideas. If you guys are, for example, doing JSF development, we can have a JSF page, and then you can insert a JavaFX applet inside a JSF page. All right, so that's also something we're looking to do. The key is that now putting an applet is not a big deal. I mean, you can take any HTML page done with any technology and dump an applet or a Flex module. The key is that you'll be able to communicate with the same backend, meaning JSF managed beans. So if your applet needs data, you'll be able to talk to JSF managed beans. Okay, so you don't need to come up with a different server side for that. All right? What else? Another thing we're looking at, again, this is more for if you're working with JSF, we're looking for JavaFX as a JSF description, view description language. So you can use JavaFX syntax kind of and it's going to create a JSF component side tree in the server. All right, so that's also a direction we're looking at. We have like a very early prototype that this example is actually running. The advantage or the disadvantage, depending where you're coming from, is that you don't have HTML anymore. Right? But it really depends where you're coming from. Some links for you guys to find this stuff. But again, if you go to xrl.com or to my blog, that's the last link, you'll be able to get all the resources. And that's it. That's all I wanted to cover. Thank you.